I'm Tracy Austin, your host of the People Strategy Podcast. This show provides interviews with organizational leaders and ongoing coaching experiences that highlight elevating people in organizations through a people strategy roadmap.
How are they going to change, evolve, grow to take on this challenge? So you got to kind of believe in people. You have to have a belief that if they want it, they'll figure out how to lead.
Hi, I'm Tracy Austin, the host of the People Strategy Podcast, where we dive into the latest trends and best practices in talent management and organizational development. Join me as I chat with industry experts, HR leaders, and business innovators to uncover strategies that can elevate your people and your business. We want to thank some of the previous guests who have been on. One of them is Byron Lowe. Byron has talked about finding the why in the work that you do and specifically the importance of that. And then with that, we're going to hear a little bit about the why we do what we do and the importance of having an example of someone that you can step into the leadership that you can see is already doing that. So I'm really excited for that today. And with that, I am excited to introduce you to Vera Quinn. Vera is the CEO of Cydcor, and she has spent 25 plus years and counting as we go. With Cydcor, she's been a driving force behind growth, along with being named CEO in 2020. And what I'm most excited about sharing with you today is some of her journey and how she has built that directly into growing folks within the organization. Our podcast today is brought to you by Elevated Talent Consulting's Leadership Development Program. So if you are looking to say, how do I grow leaders? We do have a program that can definitely support that. So with that, Vera, how have you grown leaders?
That is the big question. How have you grown leaders? I think it's first you grow yourself, right? I think leadership is an inside job first. Why would anybody follow me? You know, what about me makes me followable? And those are pretty hard questions to answer, I think, especially when you're first starting. And then you amass, hopefully, some skills and mindsets needed to be a great leader. And then what happens is you identify first talent in the organization, then you identify will in the organization, and then I think you aggressively put together development plans for individuals, and then put them in challenging spots and kind of push on them to see, okay, how are they going to change, evolve, grow to take on this challenge? So you got to kind of believe in people. You have to have a belief that if they want it, they'll figure out how to lead.
Believing in people bigger than they believe in themselves.
Yeah, you got to show, because we have some fear, right? We have some fear of not being able to do the thing, not performing well, being embarrassed if we fail. And I think what a great company or a great people environment does is they're going to understand the first time somebody takes a leadership role, you got a 50-50 shot. 50% you're going to do great, 50% you're not. That's okay. We're just learning. And you're there to support and try and protect that person's confidence as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm curious, what motivated you or who were those folks that saw you bigger than you saw yourself to step into the role that you're in now?
Yeah, I think, I mean, my parents are immigrants, so there is a mindset that you grow up with. You can't, you just have a responsibility to do better, be better. You have a responsibility to, these people that moved their whole lives not knowing the language. Like, you have to be better than us. That I grew up with that. So I think I just always knew that was a mantra that was kind of banged into my head. And then when I transitioned to my career, the field side of our business is very much meritocracy, performance-based. The whole spirit of the field is you can take whatever you want from this opportunity. So if it's face-to-face sales and becoming a face-to-face sales expert, great. We're going to teach you how to do that. If it's, we're going to teach you how to build a team and learn to care, manage, grow, develop others. If that's what you want, we're going to teach you how to do that. If you want to become an entrepreneur and run your own business and have access to clients like AT&T or Verizon, great. We're going to teach you how to do that. So the whole field culture I grew up in is you get to pick how far you want to go and then do the work, and we're here to support you. So that creates a tremendous amount of belief. Right? And, well, you can do it. I can do it. I see this person do it. I can do it. So that I think is, in my early formative career years, I just bought into that 100%. Then when I moved to Cydcor, the CEO at the time, he's now the chairman, Gary Poulsen, interestingly enough, same philosophy. Right? If you are willing to do the work, you have the ambition, you're willing to fail, because you're going to screw things up. You can't not. You're not getting to become a CEO of anything if you don't screw a couple of things up, right? If you're willing to do those things, you have just as much opportunity to be CEO of Cydcor as anyone else that does.
Right.
And I'm sorry, Tracy, and I will say, which I think is like super interesting, I did screw up. I didn't do things right. And Gary was like, and I had my own doubt. Can I do this? Maybe I can't. Maybe I'm not good enough. What if I never figure this out? And Gary was always, no, you'll figure it out. You will. You just got to believe.
Right. So we've got these two beliefs. This belief of you have to be better than us from your parents. And this belief of you can do it. You just have to believe in yourself to do it. And so these examples that you have had were really powerful and profound in saying you can step into whatever you want to be, but they didn't look like you. So with that, as a female running a large organization, how did you step into that role in a way that was authentic to you while still honoring those beliefs?
Yeah, we have, again, I'm going to go back into my field examples. We had some, and still have, we have some very powerful women that run very big sales teams, a very big organization, right? So I did have those examples. I saw these women step into, hey, I'm going to be the leader of a 1,000-person organization. That is massive.
Right.
You could see that. Now, again, my field training was, I can't be you.
Correct.
Okay. And I can't build a team if I'm not myself. Because people aren't attracted to non-authenticity. I have to be authentic. Otherwise, you will never follow me. So stepping into Cydcor, I just took that principle. Okay, I am not Gary Poulsen. I'm not Gary. I'm never going to be Gary. I'm never going to look like him. Who am I? And how am I going to lead this organization? And it wasn't ever about how can I be someone else? But I've never been trained that way in business. I look at my examples and I say, what traits does Gary have that I really respect? How can I develop those skills and traits? But I have to show up as me.
Right.
So how does that look for me? And that looks really different. Really different. Gary's, there's a few things that a lot of our values are the same, but the way it looks is different. He's a lot more introverted, introspective. I'm like loud and outgoing and rah, rah. I mean, that's who I am. I show up with this energy. Well, imagine me trying to be that other thing. I don't think you could get anybody to follow you. Because they see it, they feel it.
Absolutely. And what I love so much about this example is a lot of times I'll hear our listeners in my head going, but I thought it had to be this way, or I thought I had to do that. And I think that there's so many traps around believing you have to do something that's someone else. And I love the way you just highlighted, Vera, the values. We had the values, and I looked at the traits that Gary had that were really important that I wanted to learn, but not emulating him. It's creating the impact based on those traits that were valuable to me.
Right. And I think like even best practices, I just read something somewhere. Best practices for Starbucks I don't think it's going to be best practices for Cydcor. But there are certain things in those best practices. If I'm a learner and I'm curious, I'm going to say, oh, how would that look if we were doing something like that here?
Right.
Right. I can't stand up and say, well, Starbucks does this. Okay, well, they're a very different business than us.
Yeah.
But wow, there's this process, or there's this value, or there's this way of thinking or treating people. Oh, we could turn this into this at Cydcor. And that could be very powerful for our team.
Right. And what I'm hearing is that there's a curiosity that's in this, that's that lifelong learner of, oh, I'm seeing something and not replicating it, but how do we morph it to solve something that's currently here or elevate it?
Yeah, I think people run into trouble. There's only one you.
100%. Yeah.
There's only one. Only one. You were uniquely put on this earth to be you. You didn't get put on the earth to be me, or you didn't get put on the earth to be, LeBron James. You were put on the earth to be you. So the more we try and be something else, I think the further away we get from whatever makes us special and makes us successful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, maybe when we're younger, we do a lot of emulating. I think the older I've gotten, the more I'm like, let's just stick to me.
Yeah.
Let's just stick to what makes me me. And it's not steered me wrong.
Right. Because that authenticity is what makes you you. And also that adds that value throughout. They're not going to get from anyone else.
Right. So, and you are here to do something.
Absolutely. We all are. Every single person. Right. And I was listening to a podcast on the way into work this morning, and it like, I've heard this saying 1,000 times, but it just somehow hit different this morning. It's like, doesn't matter what your job is. If your job is to go, it snowed here last night, if your job is to go, shovel sidewalks, be the best sidewalk shoveler that is out there, because it is in the quality and the quantity of the work that you do to that level.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a value thing too, right?
100%.
Right? How do I show up? How am I showing up for this podcast? How do I show up for the next meeting I go to? How am I showing up for my family? How do I show up for myself and my health and my mental health? But I think if people just got this, you're here to do something great. We all are. The closer I stick to who I am, now learn, grow, develop, you have to. But the closer I stick to who I am, the closer I am to finding that for me.
100%. So let's shift a little bit. What makes you tick inside Cydcor, especially as it relates to one of your values of really growing your people?
I have, again, it's probably, it's again, those influences. I have a very, very, very deep belief that if you could be anything you want to be. And I have a passion for the people here. I care deeply about them. And the people that want a big opportunity, even the people that don't actually, I want them to love what they do, feel good about themselves doing it, and then understand that they have an opportunity to change their life if they want to here. That's fundamentally, that's what makes me tick. Also makes me sometimes frustrated because I get a little, let's go. I see this incredible potential in somebody. I'm like, come on. I see you were amazing. Let's go. Oh, they don't see it. They don't believe it. They're not ready yet. They don't know what they want to do. So I get a little anxious or frustrated or come on. Then I've found a lot of people over the last 25 years that it's like they really want big things. And if I can help them, what are the skills you need to develop? What are the mindsets you need to develop? What are the networks you need to develop to get really good so you can go get that opportunity? Our CFO, let's say Lalo, he's been with us a long time. He's the CFO. He started as an accounting manager. He's got big dreams, big goals, and we all rallied around him and said, okay, what do you need to learn to become CFO?
Right.
What are the traits and mindsets you need to learn? Okay, let's help you get there. Now you got to do the work. I can't.
Right.
For you. But I can give you the tools if you have that kind of burning desire to, like you said, be the best version of yourself. We're going to help you do that if you want it.
And, and I love what you said is, hey, we saw the potential and helped him to get there. He had to do the work. And so often we see the potential in someone, they don't see it in themselves. So we put them in the situation to step into it, but we don't create the support around it. And then they fail and it continues to tell the story that unfortunately keeps them at that current level versus elevating.
Yeah. And I think it hurts their confidence.
Oh,
right?
100%.
It really hurts their confidence. They start doubting themselves. And I've seen that happen too. And then you have to, oh man, we did that too quick, or we didn't have the right support around them. Oh, we hurt their Okay, now what do we have to do?
Yes.
Now what's the next project or initiative that we need to put in front of somebody? Okay, where they win. They have massive competence. They feel great about doing it. And then you have to, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next? Okay, you feel good about that? Do we have the structure around you to help you get the coaching you need to win? But I think it is important too. You're going to win and lose.
100%. And I think at least I learn so much more from my losses than I do from my wins, especially when you reflect on it. So what is that reflection that you do with team members when there is a loss?
Yeah, for me, it's like we're constantly reflecting, right? I think our culture is constant improvement. Okay. So that's the culture. I'll give you an example. We have a magazine that we've been publishing. We've been publishing this magazine for, I can't tell you how many years, right? It's about our field leadership and what's going on in our business. It is beautiful. After every publication, that team, our marketing team, sits down and says, how can we make it better?
Mm-hmm.
What can we do differently? So already in the culture, it's, hey, you're winning. The publication is beautiful. People love it. They want more copies. You're winning. Well, we teach them, right? It's just, again, it's part of the fabric of who we are.
Right.
How can you make it better? How can you make it better? How can you make it better? So again, when a loss comes, they're just thinking the way they've always said, okay, that's okay. How do we make it better? How do we make it better? It's okay that didn't work out perfectly. How do we make it better? So that's kind of in the fabric of everything we do. How do we make it better? Whether it's the most amazing thing that we do or something we didn't execute really well. And I think that's helpful when something fails, because then everybody isn't emotionally like, oh, no. We do perfect things. How do we make them better? We do good things. How do we make them better? And then we screw up things. How do we make it better? And I think that's how we are constantly talking about things in our business.
Right. There's a theme that I'm picking up throughout our conversation. And, when we chatted previously, and it's this power of beliefs. A belief is a choice. And a belief is just a thought that we think over and over and over again. And you've named some really powerful beliefs, and they can change your life. And I just want to
think, I think the field did that for me. I really do. I think knocking on doors just changed the way I think about everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
And you had shared in our conversation, I'd asked about being successful, and you talked about, the hard and stepping into each role. You want to share a little bit about, you don't always love what you do, and yet it's the doing it that so often creates the love for it.
Yeah, I don't, I hear these people say, like, find what you're passionate about and I'm like, you know what I'm passionate about? I'm really passionate about, going to Mexico and sitting in the sun and reading a good book. I'm not doing that 24 hours a day, but I'm really passionate about it. I would love to do that. If somebody would pay me to do that, just learn every day and sit in the sun, I'd be like, yes, dream job.
Would you actually be fulfilled in doing that?
No, probably not. And I'm not doing it. Probably not. But when I think about, hey, what do I love? I'm like, I really love reading, love being in the sun. Okay. So to me, it's like, no, for most of us, actually, I should say, we don't have a gun to our head.
Correct.
Okay. We don't have a gun to our head saying, I must do this work. So that's like the first thing people have to realize. If you hate what you do, if you wake up in the morning and you dread it, I would seriously think, and you do it for a long period of time, right? I would seriously think deeply about what you were doing, and I would change that. because over time and consistency, that will become your life. And that sounds terrible.
Right. There's always a choice.
Right. It's all your choice, right? So I always think about that. Okay. Now I have this new role. I feel nervous about my competence. I feel nervous about my execution. I may feel nervous about how the role is elevated and highlighted, and people can see me now in a different way.
You can't hide anymore.
Right? Okay. I've learned discomfort and going like through your comfort zone on the other end of that, however it works out, is growth and development. I've tricked myself into believing it. So that's how I've stepped into a lot of these roles. I remember saying to Gary, October 2020, hey, you're going to be CEO. Okay, we're going to do it. I'm like, dude, what? It's
Right.
cool. We're a face-to-face sales company. Can we wait? Like, what? No, I'm ready. It's going to be great.
It's time. Right.
It's great. I was like, okay, it's great. Yeah, I've trained for this. I've worked hard for this. I love these people. I love this business. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to execute as a CEO. Let's go. So again, it was my choice. I could have said no.
Right.
So to me, it's like 100% take the role. 100% take the role. Just demand, hey, what's my support system? Who are my coaches that I go to when I'm not sure what to do? What am I reading and learning to help me while I'm in this role? But that's things I can control.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's and then what happens? You get good at something and you're like, I love this. 2025, January, I love this role.
So what's the next challenge?
Well, we have some pretty big revenue targets, and then some special things happen for our business when we hit those revenue targets, for the people in our business. So that's the next big goal for me. Like that's the immediate. I'm hoping, we have a path to do it in 2025. And then one of the things we're working on is, and every good business should be, right, innovation. How do you innovate your business? And we're creating our own brand. We're doing, like, we want to be advisors for small businesses. We speak to a lot of small businesses. We have a lot of small businesses in our network. So create, a business around helping, supporting, and empowering small businesses. So that's the next big goal.
And it's so needed.
Yeah.
And it's like with each of these, you talked about how did you trick yourself into that? And, I think one of the tricks that I use so often is if this is an experiment, then we can play with it and we can always change it.
Right.
How do we experiment to see what works and what doesn't? We know the result we want. We know the intention of why we're going into it. So let's play with it and have some fun and bring some joy to it.
Well, and you know what's interesting, Tracy, which is really like you meet someone new. You don't have goals for that person. You're meeting them. You're massively curious. You get to know them. You start figuring out, do our values align? Do I like you? We like doing the same things. We don't like doing the same things. There's no outcome.
Right.
I want to be friends with you. I don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Maybe we'll be acquaintances. Maybe we see each other 3 times a year. Maybe you move in next door. We become best friends. I don't. So business and innovation, it's the same thing. I have this great idea. I have this great concept. The values align or the financials align, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to create this. That's going to change. It's not going to perfectly go as you've planned it. Got to be okay with that.
Right. 100%. 100%. I was talking with a client this morning and he wanted to create a 36-month people strategy. And I said, overall goals is great, but to create a people strategy, let's do it a quarter at a time because we can measure that. Then we can tweak it and experiment with it and look at what's working and not working. I don't know what the world's going to look like 3 years from now. We don't know what it's going to look like tomorrow half the time.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like everybody sets goals differently. I set direction, intention, and then I make sure that my actions are aligned to those things. But just like I wouldn't have said when I was 20 years old, if I don't have a child by the time I'm 30, I'm never having kids. I would never have said that to myself. Like I want to have a child. How do I get ready to have that child? What are the things I need to do to get ready for that? What do I need to learn? What are the skills I need? But if it doesn't happen on that day, on that year, I'm not saying, well, I failed or I'm giving up. It's just, okay, didn't happen within my perfect timeline. I'm still moving towards it. I'm going to get there.
And that, I think, is the key.
Yeah.
Are we moving towards it? And have we taken the growth to be that person that hits that goal?
Right. And I have milestones that tell me whether or not.
Exactly.
Like when I'm hiking, oh, I'm on the wrong path. Like, I'm not dating anybody. Haven't dated anybody for 5 years. That's going to be a problem if you're moving towards, right? Oh, okay, come back to the path.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Cydcor is a sales organization, and you have a very specific stance on sales that is different than a lot of the folks that we've talked to. And I'm curious, you're 2 no's and you're out. How does that work in sales? But also, how do you work that specifically with your people inside your organization?
We have this, we have a mantra.
Mm-hmm.
And the mantra is wowing our clients.
Yeah.
Okay. Sales leadership is bought in. Our clients love it. We love it as a business. You can't build a great business unless you have great clients. And you want to keep those great clients for a very long time. Okay. So if I'm working with AT&T, what's the most important thing to AT&T? Their brand and how I represent it.
Right.
Now, they have great products and services, but I have to be able to represent that brand the way they want me to. Mm-hmm. The way I would represent my own business, my own family business. My parents ran it. How would I represent this if I'm standing in somebody's home or in a retail store or at a business? Mm-hmm. I would take so much care of that brand. And so we talk to our people about professionalism in the field. Somebody says no 2 times. It's not no forever. It's just no right now. Walk away. There will be somebody who says yes to you. I promise you, you have an incredible solution in front of you to share with people. So you're going to close if you talk to enough people. You're going to make the sale. I just don't have to push people into it. I don't have to lie to people to do it. We don't teach that.
Right.
Professionalism in the field. You 100% represent the brand. Next thing we tell our people in wowing, bring the client good customers. Sticky customers that are going to stay with them for a long time. Bringing them customers that are going to leave in 30, 50, 60, 90 days, that's not good for them long term. Oh. And it's not good for us keeping the client long term. So we teach this in our every day almost. Sales leaders are teaching this to their reps. And then the third thing is you make a commitment, you better deliver. Mm-hmm. You just made a commitment to a VP at AT&T about how many sales you're going to bring them. Oh, you better deliver because they have a boss and they have a boss and they have a boss and they have the street and they got to be able to count on you. And if you do those 3 things, you're going to have clients for 20, 30, 40 years. And we have. And
the commitment thing is so important because every time we say yes to somebody, we're making a commitment to them. And for new leaders coming in, so often I get the ahas of like, yes, every yes you say, if you don't mean it, or you are breaking that trust. Make sure you know what you're saying yes to and what you're committing to.
Yeah, and I'm going to take that a little deeper. You subconsciously are imprinting something into yourself. Mm-hmm. When I say yes and I don't do it, subconsciously, I can't count on myself.
100%.
And that impacts my life long term. It impacts my relationships. It impacts my confidence. It impacts the integrity I have in myself. Mm-hmm. Can I believe in myself? Well, if I've developed a habit that 80% of the time I make commitments and I don't deliver, that's where belief comes from. I actually tell my people, if you want to have a stronger belief in yourself, every commitment you make, track it. Mm-hmm. Every time you do it, check it off. But every commitment, I'll call you at 3, you call it 3:10, track it. Mm-hmm. Because those things subtly undermine your belief in yourself. But if you're really intentional with your commitments, 95% of the time, you do what you say you're going to do. You start walking with a different energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to name something within the tracking. The tracking is not about, and I love that tracking. It's not about beating yourself up every time you call it 310 versus 3. It's creating the awareness of, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that I was doing this, and I'm going to hold myself to a higher level of accountability and figuring out, why did I call it 310 versus 3? What made that okay for me? And then cleaning it up.
Right. Like I did this thing, we have a lot of people in our organization. I'd go to events and people would say, hey, can you do a one-on-one with me? Can you do a one-on-one with me? And I'd get like 50 requests. I can't do that. But I'd say, oh yeah, sure, email me. Yeah, sure, email me. And I'm like, no, I cannot honor this commitment. It is impossible for me to honor this commitment, which means I can't make it. And it's harder for me to say, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I can't. There's no way I can do 50 one-on-ones. I already know. I know my schedule. I know my travel. I can't make that commitment. That's a hard thing to say to people.
Yeah, and that's a boundary. It's a beautiful example of a boundary. And so often as leaders, we're not taught, how do we create a boundary?
Yeah. I didn't look at it that way. Oh, I got to think about that, Tracy. Yeah.
Because what you did is you just created a boundary,
Mm-hmm.
which was, I'm going to honor myself with what I know is possible. And yet there may still be a need or a want. I'm going to, a need or a want to say, I still want to connect with folks. I know I can't do it one-on-one. So I'll give you an example. I was getting so many requests from other business leaders. Hey, can I pick your brain on this? Can I do that? I'm like, I can't do all these. So I created a monthly Power Partner program that once a month I bring in and we do a mastermind with Power Partners. And we do that mastermind once a month. And that was the shift from, I want to serve you, but I can't do it in a one-on-one. So the boundary around what I can and can't do, but also what is the intention of the need that's there and my intention to give, that we can do and both.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
So I know that next week we are chatting with Marlies, and I'm so excited to chat with Marlies on your team. So I'm curious, do you want to share a little bit about how Marlies has grown into her role? And what are some of those people strategies that have been in place for her to be incredibly successful?
So, like a lot of people who've grown at Cydcor, Marlies came into service desk, incredible individual performer. Incredible, like top individual performer in her role.
Mm-hmm.
And super curious, figured out, okay, these are the skills. This is how I talk to the field. This is how I talk to people at Cydcor. This is how I solve problems. I mean, and because we all do, we're looking at the people who are the best in that department. It was like, Marlies is the best. Hands down, the best. And she did the work to do that. She showed up every day, like you said. She said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it 152% every single day. You could see her doing it. Again, or at least had her journey. She'll share it with you. There were ups and downs. She knew how to do things. She didn't know how to do things, but an incredible individual performer. Then what happens normally, right? You need leadership as your organization grows. We like to look inside first. That's our MO. We want to look inside our organization because we have people that know the culture. They're into the culture. They're into the people. They bought into the values. And we want them to lead. Why wouldn't you? Because then they're the ones influencing the team.
Right.
So we give Marlies an opportunity. Hey, can you supervise one person? Train, coach, and develop one person. We're going to teach you how to do that. She partnered with other managers. We had a mentor program. She partnered with people services. Okay, what are the skills to coach and mentor and supervise one person? What are how the conversations I need to have, the good ones? What about the not so good ones? How do I develop a development plan, which Marlies had for herself? So she'd already seen it. This is your development plan. You meet with your manager once a month. You talk about how you're developing. You talk about your wins, things that you're working on. And then you talk about what are the tools and resources around you to help you get better. Well, they did that for her. So now she's doing it for her one person. Well, today Marlies runs service desk. Like, she runs the whole thing. It's not like you have 15 years. She hasn't been here that long. She's just, hey, I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to impact more people. She has a love for her people. She's a love for all people, but she wants them to grow and develop. Marlise is like the first one that sends the email. Hey, I just want to highlight what so-and-so on my team did. They're amazing. They did this really well. So I mean, for me anyway, one of the most beautiful examples of how this should work. Somebody comes in here, incredible person. They want more for themselves. They do everything that they need to do to be a great performer. And then I'm telling you, just what normally happens is somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, do you want something more?
Right.
And she put herself in that position, and she has continued to do that. I mean, she's probably, at least for me, I am impressed. I'm really impressed by Marlise. And I don't think I'd find somebody at Cydcor who isn't, or the field, by the way.
Well, and it's the incredible quality of the work, but it's the values alignment. It's the, as you said, the love for people.
Yeah. That's a big thing for us.
Right. It's more than the results you create. It's how do you create those with the people around you to have them feel valued and fulfilled in their work?
For sure. I mean, we work a lot.
Absolutely.
So Marlise wants, our leadership team, we want people to feel good while they're working. I want you to feel good and motivated and like you're doing something important.
And have joy in it and feel fulfilled in it. Otherwise, why are we doing this? Like we talked about the choice earlier. Like, if you don't love what you're doing, then go find something you do love to do. And you have to go through the hard to get to actually loving it.
Right. You have to go through the hard. Yeah.
100%. Okay. So I have two fun questions as we start to wrap up our conversation today. What is a work bucket list item that you have for 2025? And you may have already kind of alluded to this earlier.
Yeah, it will be around our brand for our small business. That is the work bucket list.
Amazing. And what's a personal bucket list?
I am going on a silent retreat. I will be silent. I will be disconnected. I won't be able to read or write for 7 days in May. So that is a bucket list item. Amazing. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'm going to go crazy. I have absolutely no idea, but it's a meditation silent retreat. So we'll see.
Yeah. And it's the curiosity around it, and what I love seeing is how do you tie the work bucket list and the personal bucket list items together? Because they all impact.
Yeah, I think just in general, people are distracted. I suffer from that as well. I'm constantly going, doing, producing something. I think I get I'm about 15 minutes a day meditation. I do it in the morning. But silence is something that's hard to come by. Always some noise somewhere. Just the rest of my life. And not in a bad way, right? And somebody that I know in YPO, they were in my chapter, they did this, and they said they got clarity, they got quiet, they got creative. And I think when you're innovating, I think when you run a business, I think when you want a great life, there's times where you need to do those things. So I feel like it'll be just a great reset, silent. I wonder what's going to come up for me. I guarantee you something creative about my business is going to come. I guarantee it. And we need it because we're innovating. So that's how I think those two kind of fit together.
Well, 100%. I think so often it's giving the permission to folks to truly unplug and take that time off. Like I leave tomorrow for a trip. It's by myself. It is, my team knows I'm out for the week. Here's what it is. We've put everything in place. And giving the permission to take that time, because so often we're running so fast that we don't give ourselves or others permission to truly unplug.
I also think, Tracy, people have it, they just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
That's the other big thing I see, right? I was in Cabo for a week. I check my email every day. Not because I got a great team. They're on their stuff. They don't.
Right.
I couldn't not do it.
So you need somebody to actually physically take the phone away.
You cannot bring your phone in. You cannot bring your phone in to this place.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I think
I might have just added another thing to my bucket list, Vera. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll tell you how it goes. I'll
Amazing.
And let you know, hey, she's in the, oh, I got this clarity, or she went crazy.
Because it's scary to say I have to be with myself with no distraction for a week. I'm so curious.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah.
Any final thoughts you have for our listeners before we close out today?
I think for me, and maybe it's the fires that are going on. Maybe it's the, I've just seen so much, like so many people lose so many things. Life is short. You only get one that you remember. Right. So whatever people believe, maybe there's multiple, but we don't remember them, most of us. There's greatness in you. So just make it count. And maybe because, again, I'm in this, this world here in Southern California, I just think it's really important. And I think the new year too creates like a new way of looking at yourself and what you do and how you live and how you feel.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, sharing your insights, being that inspiration or example to folks that may not have had that otherwise. And I'm so excited to talk to Marlise next week and share that with our listeners.
Me too. And have a good vacation.
I will. And all of the information is in the show notes below. And, again, thank you so much for mentioning the fires. As being on the Red Cross board for so long, one of my best friends actually flew from Wisconsin to LA to do the fundraising so that the fundraising staff in LA could take care of their home stuff. And I mean, it's impacting in huge ways. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening today. I'd love to connect with you. If you'd like to connect, you can find me on LinkedIn at Tracy, TRACI Austin, and at our website at elevatedtalentconsulting.com. If you'd love to learn more about our process, please reach out to us. And again, thank you so much for listening and sharing your feedback with us through a review. Have a fantastic day.